Welcome back, and let's get talking about Thy Creature. Totally not Frankenstein.
I can start because this is a narrative game.
This
is my turf, and
let's go.
Yeah, I really love the concept. Graphics look great, and I feel like Frankenstein hasn't been done in video games that much actually. Yeah. So I felt like this is something quite fresh. At least not like it's been done as a monster, but not as a kind of like protagonist of a video game. But that's kind of like comes a double-edged sword because Frankenstein is quite known, like, you know, what the story is about. So that makes it a little bit difficult in the sense of setting up an interesting mystery at the start of the game. And that was kind of like a little bit my problem with this game, that kind of like, it didn't hook me from the start because like it should set up some kind of mystery or some kind of intrigue for me to follow, because I know Frankenstein is here to look for Victor Frankenstein. So like there wasn't anything in the beginning that really hooked me to know what's going to happen next. Like the only thing that actually kept me going is like, okay, there's going to be more people in this castle. I want to meet those people and know more about them. But kind of like that initial moment, the early tutorial, those early cutscenes, they felt a little too long, drawn out. If I wasn't reviewing this game, I might have been like, no, not worth my time. But I wanted to see kind of like there was enough interesting bones here, and the art style was cute and interesting. So I wanted to see more about kind of like that.
Sure. I did enjoy the game, but I would like my biggest feedback is that it is too many things are too slow. Getting from the dialogue, and for example, when there's puzzles where you gotta move this bunny on to open these things, and when you do that, you can't move because you have to watch the animation happen every time. Let it happen. Let the player move at the same. Like there's so many things about that. That's my biggest gripe. Otherwise, I like it's pretty. I got like Darkest Dungeon vibes first time I was looking at it, but then juxtaposition with these really cute like anime characters. It was really cool. Really cool. Instead of going to Chris, because otherwise we just go back and forth, I'm gonna hop back and forth this time. So Venla.
Yes. Funny you should say that, because like for the first moment I pick up this game, I launch it, instant chills. Like the opening cinematic with the music and everything got me just completely like immersed, and I just was like, okay, I'm in it. I want to be here. I want to go for everything. And I don't know, I just didn't really get the feeling of like slowness in the start. Maybe because because it is like a dark, like a horror themed game and so on. So I kind of like, I just like the overall like atmosphere of like taking in things kind of like slowly and, you know, approaching and so on, and getting to the mystery, meeting the characters and so on. So yeah,
but to me it was kind of like, you know, I'm clicking through the cutscene, I get to walk a bit, and then I'm in another cutscene, so I didn't feel like I had much agency in that.
Yeah, so I do understand that. Yeah.
I'm not a narrative designer, but I kind of felt like that there was a little bit too much kind of filler wording, and like this kind of what is it? The kind of
dot.
Yeah, and a little bit like something that's some lines that didn't really have necessarily a kind of meaning necessarily. Were
maybe I was just like taking in the atmosphere so much that I even noticed like time passing. Or anything.
But I guess one thing that I did think here regarding the dialogue is that because we are European Nordic, maybe this is something of a cultural difference of like we are not necessarily, we don't need that many details, or we don't care about that many details or backstory necessarily. So maybe the details are more tuned to, not necessarily tuned to our audience.
But like when I'm stuck in a cutscene and I'm like, if there's nothing in that cutscene that I'm like really looking forward to, I'm like, just let me get
especially when it's voice acted and the thing comes, I've read it, and then I have to wait for a second or two for it to get to the next one. But that's a good point. I think when you mentioned about Frankenstein and Victor Frankenstein, you know, there's no hook, you know, this, I don't know if in Korea how well known Frankenstein story is. That could be like not that well known.
But like in European context, I think
very true.
Very known here.
A couple of people might have heard of it, maybe. Yeah. Emma?
Yeah. Oh man, I had all these thoughts and now they're evaporated. But I do agree with you. I really was drawn into the game immediately. I really like the art style, and I was very intrigued. Like, what is happening? But at the same time, I couldn't move. At the very beginning, what the WASD does nothing. The mouse does nothing. What do I do? And it took me like just long enough to figure out that like I move with the.
That was one of my comments.
keys.
Like I want to just because the controls are so simple. Like why can't I use the WASD keys? Because like you use the set and like the shift. So why do I have to use like like you don't really use the mouse?
So that added to like the thing, and like for me it was also like the pacing, because it was like okay, at the beginning nothing happens because I don't understand what I'm doing, and there's very little to understand. So it, like I got over that, and then I get into the now I'm stumbling into another dialogue, and now I took another step and I'm into this thing, and then for me personally there was a lot of shaking, which I think is also a little bit cultural, that like the shaking of the camera and stuff, there was so much of it. I think it's more like common in Asian cultures, but I get migraines, so I started feeling a bit iffy about it, so I had to take breaks when I'm playing, so that maybe added to that as well.
Maybe as a feedback, because you mentioned the key, like finding the keys, why not have key bindings, so you can change your key bindings, but also that's a really good point, the shaky, that can also be a section, a setting, like, you know, disable shaking, or like these kind of things can really help.
Or make it milder, not so...
Exactly, I mean, it makes for a really great effect, like,
it did,
dialogue, it was like used, especially with the sound design, like, so effectively, I loved it.
The sound was quite nice.
But it is true that that shaking was perhaps a bit too intense, or it just took a bit too long. And like I don't get migraines, but even I was feeling a little bit of an eye strain.
And there was a lot of it.
At the beginning there was tons of it.
That's where I also felt that like the narrative and the gameplay didn't quite like, because I was expecting like Frankenstein, so like I'm a big, you know, indestructible monster, and then the first monster almost kills me because I'm like it was, I think the first combat wasn't quite well tutorialized, and I didn't quite understand how it connected with Frankenstein. Like, I'm collecting these shards. I don't know how collecting the shards is now damaging the monster.
I didn't like it. It didn't really make necessarily narratively sense, but I did enjoy actually that it's a kind of a, might say that innovative, but like a bullet hell of sorts gameplay here.
Yeah, it felt kind of clever to me. Like you know, one of the games that come to mind is like Nier Automata, or like the Nier series overall, because there is these like red projectiles that fly at you, and you're supposed to be dodging them and so on. Of course, there's a bunch of other combat happening at the same time, but still, like I was like, when I started playing the battles, I was like, okay, I can get behind this. Like the shards and how they damage the monster was also something that like took me a while to connect.
It could have been like if there would have been feedback when I pick up the shard, it flies to the monster.
Yeah.
But like when you like kill the enemy, you get like this like like the little palms or like whatever, you get this fragment of memory. But like I agree, like there is no like like how are you supposed to kill the enemy or like stuff like that. Like these shards don't really make sense in.
Or what do you do with the
like,
shard?
like
fragments. And
it's like it's like the first enemy was like a book or something like that. There's like made more sense if you're collecting fire or something. And it's just like you have projectiles that come like or catapulted towards the enemy.
Definitely, also my biggest piece of feedback is that I don't know, is it us as reviewers, or is it like our sort of like market or something? But I feel like that nowadays in games you do see a lot of like casual options for those people who want to just enjoy the story and immerse themselves into the world. I think that either with this game, if the devs want to continue as it is, that's fine. Perhaps they could like either add a new difficulty mode or then just tweak it as it is. Like one very simple mechanic I could see would be like a mercy timer, in the sense that if your character gets hit by a projectile, they're gonna be like, you know, they're not gonna get hit for a couple of seconds or something, that they can't, because there was sometimes that I took a lot of like consecutive hits.
One thing, so we mentioned tutorial, which was pretty decent. Like it was a little longer, but like it wasn't, the tutorial wasn't long, but because this way it works, everything is slow, that's why it felt a little longer. But I want to say, like, it was very good menus. I really liked those were actually way better than I kind of expected. They're often disregarded a little bit.
And one thing that kind of like a little bit annoyed me as well is I felt like I had to sweep the room to find the kind of like interactable points. Like it was a very kind of like short radius that they would become visible. So like I didn't even have that cue, like the painting is interactable. So
I kind of missed that too. Yeah.
You could have like a little circle around that, like a way bigger circle. Like it doesn't have to be a visible circle. Like
like I know it's a part of sort of like exploration and trying to find things, but I do really like those games where you can just press a button and it's gonna highlight all the interactables in the room. I think it's kind of like nice, you know, especially for a person who's a bit of a completionist. Like wants to make sure that I turned every nook and cranny. They have beautiful animatic and the song was really nice.
It was,
Oh yeah, one actually thing. Because the song was in English, it would have been nice if I could have seen the lyrics like as subtitles or something. Because I felt like that there was some sort of story. I do understand English, like you know, that's the problem. But I enjoy it more with subs.
Like some close catches or something.
Especially because you know it was in a song, so I kind of wanted to see like, is there something going on in there, some sort of hidden meaning on it.
But it's definitely a big part of the story. So like it should be like when you're starting the.
So that would maybe help you get the hook. And
that pulled me in.
I would have still.
Alright, that was the trailer for Swing Dunk, and now let's get into the game. I think, Chris, you were quite quiet last time, so...
Am I always quiet? What is this?
In my mind.
No.
But I feel like you were looking like you want to talk. You were like, oh, turning during the trailer. So what's in your mind?
Well, I guess someone has to say Rocket
League. Elephant in the room.
Someone has to say Rocket League. I mean, like, of course, it's definitely heavily inspired, like, by Rocket League, and like you can definitely see that in like pretty much everything, like how you score, like how the animation, the blowback, and like and all of that, like pretty much like out of the Rocket League book. So like only difference is like it's a hoop, it's not a goal, which kind of makes things like harder, because at least in Rocket League you could like accidentally score because the ball rolls in, but here you'd like the level of skill you need to actually be able to function in the game is much higher.
But on the other hand, Rocket League, you can't grab the ball, you have to just push it. Here you can actually grab it. So.
Yeah, that's true, but it's also like it's harder, like unless you have a clear field and nobody's chasing you, like then you can like maybe dunk, but like you would need like quite few tries. Like it took me a while with the AI to score, but like when I got to like the players, it was like I'm not sure if I did even a score, like one goal. I think the AI scored.
The PvP was weirdly intense. Like I got there, I was like, after beating the boss, I was like, yeah, whatever. Yeah. Not whatever.
Yeah.
It was like,
oh wow, okay.
So I gotta give that feedback, like not purely laptop friendly.
No.
But then again, I assume that most people who play this would not do that. But like, because like even Rocket League, it has that chaos fun aspect. This definitely is more like skill fun.
But like Chris said, you can't. It's really difficult to accidentally get it in. Like whereas in Rocket League, just being there and part of the chaos can affect it.
You have to be very deliberate with your moves.
But here, you like you said, you get more control as well. So it's sort of trade off.
But it was like very hard. Like even if I had mouse, like okay, I need to jump. Oh yeah, the ball had to be behind me, and then I need to toss. So there was actually quite a lot of kind of like just to get around, even though kind of like they're very natural, intuitive, like I must put the ball behind me to throw it, but it was still quite a lot, and I felt like the swing speed, which is very fast, and I was like, dunk.
Yeah, I don't know how many times I like yep, I'm gonna throw it, and I threw it backwards. So like, yeah, and like they scored.
Or straight in the ground. In
Yeah.
All the skills and all the features that there are, it kind of creates a good depth to the game and like very good
that's definitely
places to master as well.
Now, when we're speaking about the tutorial, I also found it really weird that kind of like the things that you had to do 3 times, like let me steal the ball back, and I was like, that felt really bad. And then like it didn't advise me that I had to do that 3 times, and then I was like just skating around with the ball, like, okay, tutorial, please progress. And then I was like, do I have to let the AI steal the ball again?
There was this, but like I don't remember what the first thing was, but I think it was the first thing that I had to do over and over again, and I don't think I did it fast enough, because in the end it was like, well, okay, you can try that again later. And like, did I fail the tutorial? Did I fail the tutorial? What happened? And then it's like
amazing.
Yeah. And say for the push tutorial, like it felt like, you know, it didn't advise me that, okay, you need to do that 3 times. Kind of like I just felt like, did I break the tutorial?
But it's weird because I felt like it's too long of a tutorial in a way, but then it wasn't like super in-depth tutorial either. So it was like it was weird balance in a wrong place. I would honestly tighten the tutorial quite a bit.
My sort of feeling of it was that like, sure, the tutorial shows you how you swing it, how you jump, how you dunk, but I kind of wish there was a little bit more feedback on like what's the good timing or what's a good spot to stand in when you like approach the goal. Because then when I later on played some games, I found myself like trying to do like, oh yeah, the double jump and the dunk, I can do this, but I ended up like either like overshooting, or then like, you know, I was like way off, or I ended up at the side or something, so I just didn't have like that kind of like good grip on the controls just yet. I mean, it is nice for like newcomer players who still want to like learn the ropes of the game and so on, give them that kind of like soft landing into it. But I do understand that if you already have experience, you kind of want to like just get in, play the players and so on. So
like
then,
maybe, you can go PvP and be like, hey, you haven't played a single bot match, maybe play one before. Are you sure you want to go? And then yes, no.
And like, to me, like after completing the tutorial, and I think one of the questions that they sent us was like, what did you do immediately after? I just stared at this game like, what is happening in this menu?
The menu was like a little all over the place.
I started clicking around because like I probably like I want to play more, so I started clicking around like, oh, there's a button here, and then I click the button like, oh, by the way, you have not bought or set any upgrades. Do you want like?
That's true.
Okay, and then I'm like, nope, I'm overwhelmed. I want to go to the game. Like, are you really sure you don't want to do this upgrade thing? I'm like, yes, just kick my butt. I just want to keep playing, and it was weird how it felt gated, because like first I needed to look for a way to play the game, and then it was like, no, you really don't want to play the game now. So.
When games started, you had to like get to the game should be one of the first things.
Then again, like, I mean, the first thing I started doing was just look through the menus, and then I even found a prize I could claim. I was like, oh, that's fancy, that's nice. You know, and then I was like, okay, now I'm ready to like play more. And so,
go on.
Also, no female avatar.
Yeah, I was also kind of feeling that I would have like, because like I said, I went through all the menus, I found the customization menu, and there was nothing there. I would have wanted to at that point, like, they make nice juicy rewards, absolutely. Of course, it's a good incentive to keep on playing, but I wish I had that like tiny bit of agency at the very start.
Let me customize a little bit. Let me at least be, express my gender.
Like it because it exists in the game. I saw other players with it, and that's like when you play enough. So, but why not in the beginning? Even just a couple of choices.
Okay, I know female gender is so prized that prized.
You have to
like
earn it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah,
like,
and also like I don't know if this is intentional that the default avatar is called Nard, which is I don't know. Some people know what the slang word is.
Localization.
Localization is very, very important.
It's a thing. Yeah, definitely. So we've been mostly talking about the tutorial and the menus, but like in the game itself, I would say something that would be a big thing. Like I never got a feeling of speed. And it's just the same thing. Like especially the first arena is really bare bones. It's just like this Tron-esque like
I felt like I was in like developer mode something like that.
Exactly.
Like if you go on like the Steam store and look at like there are beautiful maps and you
that's
can see cities and stuff like that.
I never got them, and when I was in the trailer I was like,
I was like,
why didn't I get this? Which is kind of cool, but then the characters don't fit there. Like it's just and the same thing goes with the effects, like the speed thing, but also like when you get you said the sound got a little much, but like the visuals, like if you get a goal or you score, it should be like a big, like they fly and they like properly. Now it's just like a gentle nudge. You scored.
Yeah, so like what I would maybe want to see is like with a force put or like the force shield or something, you can interact with the other players. So you can guard or block or something, because in Rocket League you can smash through the car and they explode. But like here, like you can't really like, okay, my team is like attacking, I can't like kind of push the other guy away or something. Like you can't really guard in that sense.
Exactly, yeah, the guarding.
So like it would be fun if you could like doink or like you could like boink them on the head or
that would make the players who are maybe less experienced with the ball handling could do something fun and a little bit chaotic,
definitely.
Turn it into rugby. And overall, the presentation of the game was really polished. Everything worked. Like the only problem, like again, that's that initial impression is that when you're in the tutorial and the kind of like messages log in the top left, that font was really unreadable and blurry, and I was like, oh.
The line height was also like I didn't realize that it's actually chat log there, because like at least in the tutorial that the messages were spaced out so wide that I didn't actually understand that it's a chat log. And then there was the dialogue window in the middle. It could have been a little bit lower, because then I had to kind of look like this when I was doing.
And there was a lot going on, because there was a chat log, there was a dialogue at the top, and then there was I don't even remember what else there was on the other side top, and then objectives, and then there was like another tutorial like these are the buttons that you're gonna push on the lower left corner, and then all the colors and flashes of the game itself, which like I like, but then together it was a bit much, because I'm like, where am I supposed to put my attention? Then again, you couldn't really miss anything because you had control.
I'm trying to think like gameplay wise, what are the biggest changes? A lot of what we're talking about is maybe like polish, like to total make it better.
Like it was a really good package, so I think we're nitpicking because there's it's a very complete game already.
But I think the biggest thing that you already touched upon, and I wasn't sure if it's just a me thing or how to fix that, but is the sense of speed. Because it felt like I'm just trailing behind and there's nothing I can do, which largely was my lack of skill, but like it felt like I was like trying to catch up, but I'm like, well, how do you fix that? Because if everything's faster, then they're faster, but like if it feels like we're all going faster but not too fast, so like you have time to react, it might be nicer, because now it's just like...
So there were a couple of things that were tried to... So there was... You had three... First of all, it was a fidget spinner. That was the boosters. It doesn't recharge when you have the ball, which makes sense, that you can't like forever. But then... Also, because the boost felt like almost nothing. But what would be cool if there was a way to get that boost when you're like chasing someone, because if you use your boost, like if you manage to, for example, could be a good feedback loop, if you manage to have the shield and you can push what you were talking about, like you push the other player and cause from, you get like a little bit more boost, like that would give you like a reason to do it. It would help you chasing people, like it could like you could use these simple loops to kind of get people to do more.
And I wonder if that could also like make the fields a little bit larger, but give them more feel of speed.
Yes, like it could be like more speed, and then make like have a little dolly zoom, have a little speed lines, have something like
to make it
sound,
feel faster.
like more fire, like whatever.
And there was question about the world, but there was almost nothing in the world for me to grab. Like I sometimes also looked at the sides of the arena, and there's no like audience, there's no cheer. Like it feels like a very dead world.
Except in the trailer.
There's so much.
And it was
when you're playing, there's no one there.
Exactly. Just little animations. Like in Rocket League, they have like a little antenna that goes wild. So having the characters just react a little bit to the movement or a push or like anything, like even the speed, if they go a little bit, that would go so far. But cool. Any last words about Swing Dunk, or are we?
One like other nitpicking, like of course, like this has a huge potential. I would say like esports and like a very good social aspect. But when I went to like the clubs or like with crew, I think like. You need profanity filters for
I think I saw the same club
so
as
like
you.
when you see clubs with like
slurs.
Yeah,
slurs
let's not go
and
there.
that kind of stuff, like that
Very
kind of
true.
puts you off, so
Very
like
true.
profanity filters like all the way.
I mean, community, like that's a whole.
Like
that's
if you want to
job.
build a community and like which like this game has
Yeah.
really good potential of like having a Discord community and like Twitch and like all of that stuff, you need profanity filters.
Especially when it's in another region.
Yeah.
Yeah, very true point, good point. Okay, thank you. That's essentially it for this Game Inside Global Game Review show. Thank you for joining us. That is a mouthful. This time in Finland. Had a wonderful time. Thank you all. My name is Helli. But you guys, you want to say a little goodbye? If people want to follow you somewhere, you can slap that on.
So hi, my name is Eva Korhonen, Senior Narrative Designer at Housemarque, and you can find me on Twitter under nickname Silliet, so SILLIET.
Yeah, Kristoffer Knudsen, tech artist at Next Games, Netflix. Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn or kristofferknudsen.com.
Thank you. I'm Emma Varjo. You can find me on Twitter at EEVarjo or EEVARJO, or on LinkedIn with my name.
And yes, I have been, and I am, Venla Heino, a game designer from Skunkworks. Please check out Skunkworks games and our game merch friends. Available in iOS and App Store.
Oh, nice plug.
Yeah, very smooth.
I've been Teemu Kokkonen. I am still Teemu Kokkonen. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm a designer programmer, also Finnish Game Jam president. So if you see Global Game Jam or Finnish Game Jam, or otherwise like game jams, contact me and we can talk about those. And yeah.
And I'm Helli. You won't find me. Thank you for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining us, and see you next year.